Hi guys, welcome. My name is Vera and today I'm going to show you how to paint our beautiful abstract butterfly right here. Now before we start, remember this is a video tutorial, so you're welcome to pause at any time. You can take as many breaks as needed and you can come back to it any other day as well, just in case you can't finish in one sitting or something comes up that you need to attend to. That's all right. It's going to be right here for you. So let's go through all our supplies to make sure we know what we're going to need for today. First thing you're going to need is a canvas. And hopefully it came with a pre-sketch canvas because we're going to start with a pre-sketch canvas. The canvas that I'm going to be using today is 9 by 12 inch. This is what I originally made this painting on. Now this is the outline that we provided for you guys. Now if you print it, you would notice that it's a little bit smaller than this canvas, and that's okay. So you have two options in that case. You can use smaller canvas, you can use 8 by 10, which is going to be just a little bit smaller than the actual outline. I think I have one somewhere. I'm going to show you guys. This is 8 by 10. You see, it's a little bit smaller than just a printed piece of paper. So it just means your butterfly is going to be a little bit smaller. So you're going to have to cut off just to trim it a little bit. Or you can do 9 by 12 inch, but you just have to, paint the rest. Just extend your lines to the edge. You'll just have to, add a little bit to it. So you can go smaller and trim it, or add a little bit to it and go a little bit bigger. So that's completely up to you. But make sure you came with a pre-sketched canvas. If you're just discovering this tutorial right now and you don't have pre-sketched canvas, that's okay. There is a link to downloadable outline in a description of this video. So whenever you want to, just go ahead and download the outline. And how we recommend that you pre-sketch it, you can pre-sketch it however you want. You can use the transferring paper if you have one, but we know not everyone has one. So if you have it, great, you can use it. If not, what we recommend is just print it on a regular home printer. Then take your canvas, put it to the other side of your canvas, and of course you're going to need to get it like underneath the frame. So basically you get it all the way underneath the frame. Tape the corners if needed. If not, the frame will likely just hold it for you. And then put it over the window so the light shines through this and through here, and then you just take a pencil and you outline as the light shines through. You will see all those black lines. But of course, it needs to be flat to this canvas. So it's not like this. You have to put it inside all the way in every corner. So it's like super flat. So that's how you pre-sketch it. If you want to use transfer paper and put it on top with the transfer paper in between, that's okay too. Again, it's totally your call how you want to pre-sketch it. All right. And another thing we're going to use is, of course, water. You're also going to need a paper towel or usable fabric cloth, whichever you guys prefer. Couple different brushes. I'm going to be using 3 different brushes today. This is my medium/medium large. For this canvas, you don't really need an actual large brush. Just medium or medium large is great. If you go with larger canvas, which you can, use bigger brush. If you go smaller canvas, you can switch it to a smaller brush, but just something bigger overall for the background. Then I'm going to use medium small brush, and that's going to be for certain areas of my outline and for the filling in of those areas inside the wings. And brush stroke here, brush stroke there. And of course you're going to need a small brush for fine details. So this is the 3 brushes that I'm going to be using today. And as far as paint, I'm going to be using acrylic paint, student grade acrylic paint of primary colors only, which is black and white plus yellow, red, and blue. Now in regard to which shade of black, white, and yellow, doesn't matter. Any ones that you have are great. And as far as blue and red, we recommend that you use phthalo or primary blue, and that you use red that's on a pinker side. So anything that has magenta undertone or like a dark pink or just has a pinker undertone is great. Avoid using any reds that have orange undertone, just because we're going to be using a lot of red for mixing purples, and unfortunately red that has that yellow premix into it, which gives it orange undertone, just doesn't mix well into a good purple. So if you want to end up with a really good purples in the end, make sure your red has a pink undertone to it. Now, if you prefer, you can use premixed colors, in which case it doesn't matter. In premixed colors, you can use colors of your choice. So any colors will do for this painting. Just choose your favorite colors and use them. Or if you want to stick with the colors that I have used while creating this painting, you're going to need teal or aqua. You're going to need pink, a couple shades of it, preferably, let's say, light pink, then hot pink. You're going to need some purple, you're going to need green, you're going to need dark blue, you're going to need warm fuchsia, kind of mixture between fuchsia and purple. And any other color that you see here that you would like to use, but those are the main ones. Alright guys, and how are we going to do it? So what we will do is actually we're going to work on a background for a little bit. Then we're going to move on to outline, and we're going to do the butterfly outline in black. And then we're going to go back to the background. And then we'll finish by adding a little bit of blue and white onto our outline. So background, outline, layers and layers. So the colors that I'm going to start with here is I'm actually going to start with aqua, that teal color. And then I'm going to switch to pink, and then I'm going to switch to like a darker versions. So from light pink to hot pink to purple to then darker color and so on. I'm going to cover some of my background. I may or may not cover all of it. Then I'm going to move to my black, and I'm going to do the black outline for butterfly. After that, I'm going to go back to my background, and I'm going to start adding lighter colors, and I'm going to start trimming my outline with those lighter colors. And then I will add a little bit of blue and some white on my black outline to make it not so black. And that's pretty much it. And guys, this is one of those paintings that you can really experiment with. You can use any colors, you can introduce, let's say, another texture. If you have, let's say, a bubble wrap, after you're done, I wouldn't recommend this in the beginning. I would say it's on the last 10%. So once it's 90% or even 95% done, that's when you want to add texture. So you don't want to extend too early. So you can use bubble wrap. You can just put it in a paint of your choice and just stick it on to create another texture. That's where you can use a fan brush and just add another texture with a fan brush. Or if you have a stencil of some kind, like a flower stencil or, you know, a splatter stencil, something, you can use that for the background too. Or even for the butterfly itself, you can add designs and patterns in the middles of the wings too. So any texture that you can add to it or a pattern will look really, really good, but also on its last 10% of this painting. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to grab my biggest brush that I have, which is like a medium brush, and I'm going to make my aqua color, teal or aqua, something like that. So I'm going to start by scooping some white on the side. Let's move this little piece of, I don't know what that is. Let's put some white. Then I'm going to add just a little bit of blue here. I'm making about, I'll say, medium version of that, medium light. And then to this I'm going to start adding yellow little by little. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow, mix it in. And actually in my case that was just the right amount of yellow, so I'm not going to be mixing anymore. Usually you want to add just a little by little until you arrive at the right color, because it's really easy to mess it up by adding too much yellow and then it turns into green, and you know, it's easier to redo it versus fixing the color. So for me, this is perfect, just the color that I wanted. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to go right here, and with the large brush strokes, I'm just going to start coloring this in. And also, while I still have this color, I'm going to add it a little bit in certain areas on the inside of this paint. And you can always switch to a smaller brush too, but I'm still comfortable using this brush, so I'm going to continue until I can't, until I'm not comfortable using it anymore, and then I'm going to stop. And you can either color the entire section or just half of the section. It's up to you. Alright, now I'm going to make a lighter color. So to the same color, I'm just going to add some white. And with this lighter color, I'm going to continue here. So I'm going to finish coloring this upper part. And you don't have to be careful around your lines on this step. You can just go right over them. As long as you don't fully lose your pattern, that's okay. We'll recover them on the next step. And then I'm going to continue going down with this lighter color. Which, by the way, I didn't make enough, so I'm going to need to remix it again now. It's the same ingredients. I'm going to start with white. I'm going to add a little bit of blue. This time I'm just going to add less blue than the first time. And then yellow little by little again. Great. Alright, now I'm going to switch my brush. I'll wash off this brush. I'll put it on the side. And let's grab, where did I put my smaller brush? Here it is. I'm going to go with my medium small brush now. And I'm going to grab the same color. And I'm going to color in a little bit more of in-betweens here. And you can use just small brush too if that you find that it's easier for you to just use straight small brush, go for it. And again, notice I'm not really careful. I'm going over my lines. I'm even coloring a little bit more than what I want to see in the end because I know that my next layer, the black outline that I'm going to add, will very well cover the teal and fix up any boo-boos. So I'm not going to spend my time being super careful around those lines just for me to do that again on the next layer. Let's add a little bit right here too. So you see a lot of those in between. There's some coloring with the colors compatible with the background. So they kind of almost look like extenuation of a background. And then I'm going to overlap other colors over them. Here I'm going to do a little bit of that as well. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this color. And now, again, I'm going to wash off my smaller brush and I'm going to go back to my medium brush. And to this light teal that I just used, I'm going to add even more white to make the lightest version of it. And with that lightest version of it, I'm going to go to the bottom and I'll finish coloring my bottom. And you can overlap your previous color too. You can blend it or you don't have to. You can keep it brush strokey. Brush strokey is not bad for this painting. It's good for this painting, so don't be afraid of brush strokiness. It doesn't have to be smooth. So my bottom is done. Now guys, something I want to mention before we go too far here. If you want to do your edges, which I personally wouldn't be doing my edges, but if you wanted to, you could. I would be doing my edges. I just wouldn't be doing them in this manner. So what you could do is whenever you go to the edge of the canvas, just use the same paint and go right over the edge of the canvas and bring it onto this edge. That way, once you finish the painting, it will look like you wrapped your image around your canvas, which looks really nice. It's just, I'm not a big fan of doing it as I go. Maybe because while teaching tutorials, this is not the most visually appealing part to do. So yeah, but if you prefer that look, that will end up with like extending your painting onto your edge, then just do that right away. Whenever you come to the edge, just bring that same paint over the edge. It will take a little bit longer, but it will pay off really well in the end. Or don't worry about the edges. What I will personally do in the end is just I'm going to paint my edges black, because black is super compatible with this painting. There's a black butterfly in here, and it will also increase the contrast visually. So I like the look. That's what I'm going to do, just a heads up. But if you want to, do the edge as you go, and it will also look great. All right, next thing that I want to do is I'm going to move on to I'll move into hot pink paint here. So I'm going to use the same brush. I'm going to scoop some red on the side. You see it's a magenta based red. Then I'm going to add some white. We'll make a nice bright pink. If you have this color premixed, go for it. See a really nice, beautiful pink. It can be any shade, by the way. Just something bright and beautiful. And I'm going to start adding it here in certain areas that are completely uncovered first, but then also I will overlap some teal areas here. If your teal is still wet and it starts blending, that's okay. Let it blend. Don't intentionally go ahead and start blending it But if it does blend a little bit, it's not a big deal. We're okay with this. If you're doing your edge, don't forget about it. Feel free to bring it right onto the edge. So I'm going to do some right here. And then I'm going to bring it on this part. Then I'm going to switch my brush, wash it off, put it aside, and I'm going to grab a smaller brush, either medium small or small, and I'm going to bring this paint in those areas that are left for it, or you can overlap if you didn't leave them, that's okay too. You know, just a flick here and there. You can always add this color on the later stages too if you feel like you're not sure about certain areas yet and you feel like, maybe I want to wait on that area. That's alright. It's not a hard color to mix. That can always go on top of other colors. See, no perfection, no smooth blending, just brush strokes. It's very freeing, really, to be able to add brush strokes like that. Alright, that's enough for me personally, at least for this painting with this color. Now I'm going to move to my next color, and from next color I'm going to go darker. So what I'm going to do is, to the same color I just used, I'm going to add more red. Do you see? It's like super magenta. And then I'm going to add just a tiny smidge of blue. Little tiny smidge of blue. Because I'm not trying to make it a full-on purple. I want to make it like a purple fuchsia color. So it's more red than purple, but it does have that hint of purple. So it's like out of the purple spectrum colors, but not actual purple. And I'm going to go right here with that. Honestly, you can go anywhere, but this is where I'm going to go with this. Again, if you're adding your edges, don't forget about them. So right there. Couple brush strokes on the inner areas here. Great. No more really. Again, done with this color too. Next. So next to this color, I'm gonna add some white. and blue to make it more like a medium purple, medium light purple. So you see it's bluer and lighter. That's what we want. And with this color, I'm going to go on top here. Put some right here. Here, the bottom part of this part. Definitely right here. And anywhere else where you want it. And again, continue using the same brush if it's comfortable. If not, switch to a smaller one. All right, I think that's it for me again. And after that, I'm gonna move to my, oh, actually, sorry, one more place. Put some right here. That's good. After this, I'm gonna move to like a darker teal color that almost looks green. So again, you can use medium large, medium small, any sort of medium brush. And I'm gonna start with some white, but less this time. Then I'm gonna add more blue to it to make like a medium blue, I would say. And then to that, I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow, just enough to turn it teal, but not enough to turn it full on green. Or if you want, you can add a bit more to be on a greener side, but generally not like equal parts, because then it's going to be like a grass green, and that's not the color we're looking for. You see, it's like a mixture between teal and green, like emerald green or aqua. And with this, I'm going to color in this section fully. I'll add a couple brush strokes in this sections. And we're done with this color too. So that was pretty fast for that one. And after that, we can actually move to our black, because we've done our fairly dark colors. The rest are more like light colors. So now we're going to do the black outline, and then we're going to trim them with lighter colors on the background again. We're going to introduce all those yellows and lighter greens and light pinks, and then we'll do some dark blue. So for the black outline of a butterfly, I would say the easiest color probably to use, the easiest brush probably to use would be just a regular small brush. If you prefer medium small, you could use that too. Honestly, any brush that you're comfortable with, but generally I find that the smaller the easier, I guess. And if you have time, you can actually let it dry so you don't have to like put your hand over it and accidentally get into it. Or you can rotate your painting. If you're right-handed, you can start with this corner and then rotate it and do the other side, and so on. So whatever works for you guys. And that's where we clean up our lines too. And I always recommend that whenever we use black and fine lines that you water down your paint, because I find that it's very difficult to make fine lines when your paint is too thick, even if you have excellent brush. It's a little tricky. Excuse me. So I would recommend that you water down your paint just to the right consistency. It doesn't have to be like a super wet. I'm not trying to make the paint transparent. Just thin enough for us to do fine lines and then get a good coverage. And again, guys, take your time. Don't rush through the lines. This is a video recording, so pause it, do it at your own pace. You see, it's actually really nice when you start seeing something come together. And it's not like a separate pieces that make no sense, but you actually, this may turn out in the end. So black does this to this painting. It starts bringing it slowly together. And this one's the small ones. I'm actually going to cover them up and I'll add them on top later. See the small dots there? It's much easier for me then to work around them. And sometimes I would do that with smaller, especially single color dots or like areas. I'll just add them on top. This one too. I'll add that one on top. I don't even need it right now. Alright, I have this side. Let's go on to the other side. Just really, the next little while, it's just the line work. Lines, 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 and more lines. So the smaller ones right here, well, actually there are right here, if you hold them properly. I'm going to cover them up and I'm just going to add them with the white later on. So I don't gonna have to work around them. They're not my favorite. Too small to work around. Oops. All right, so I have, actually, I'm going to color this one in two. I have all my outline, or at least the black layer of it. So now I'm going to let it dry because I can't really do anything until my black outline is dry at this point. I can't even work on the background because I will need to overlap my outline. And if it's still wet, it's just going to smudge. So the only thing I can do right now is I'm going to add my edge with black because that's what I decided to do for my edge. So I'm just going to take a bigger brush. I'm going to color it with black. For those who are doing your edges color match, you're not going to be doing it. Or for those who just don't know what you want to do with your edge, you don't have to do that. You can leave your edge as is, or you have time to decide. You can always do this once we finish the entire painting. You don't have to do this now at all. I'm only doing now because I can, and I know that this is what I want to do personally. All right, and I have the edge now as well. So let's wash my brush, put it aside. See what it looks like right now. Now guys, I can't really do anything until this is dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video and wait until this dries. And guys, for you, it wouldn't feel like, probably will take about 10 minutes for me to have it dry. For you, it wouldn't feel like that because I'm just gonna resume the video and it's gonna be like this for you. And I'll be back with a dry painting. However, if you're following along, I would say pause the video. Pause the video, give yourself 10 minutes, go get a snack, go make a phone call, go to the washroom, whatever you need to do. Do it, and then whenever your black is dry, come back and join me again, or just continue watching, see what we're gonna do next. See the whole process first, and then whenever you're ready, you can come and you can start actually painting. And I'll see you guys in like a second with a dry painting. Alright guys, my painting is dry, so I am ready to continue here on to our light colors. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make light pink. You can use either medium, medium large, or you can use medium small. I think I'm going to start with just like a medium large one first. Alright, I'm going to scoop some white on the side. Add just a little bit of red. Make nice, fairly light pink. It could be darker than this. With this color, I'm going to go over right here. And I'm going to start adding it. And you can dry brush it or make it solid. It's really up to you. And I'm going to add some around here. And then I'm going to start like adding a smidge here and there in those sections too. If you need to, you can switch your brush for this to have a smaller, more appropriate size brush, or continue with the same brush. Doesn't really matter. Whatever works for you guys. Go right here. You see, as I do that, I trim my black lines a little bit. Meaning I slightly go over them. You don't have to. Again, this is a personal preference. I kind of like them a bit on the smaller side, or at least in some areas. I don't like them even. I like having areas that have thicker and some areas that have thinner lines. So sometimes as I add my light colors, I'll be trimming them. You can do that too, or you can just keep them the size they are. Alright, and I want to add a little bit of a darker pink right here. So to the same pink, I'll add just a little bit more red. Make like a nice medium pink, I would say. And I'll just add a touch of that here. Great. Moving on to Let's add light green first. So for light green, I'll wash off this brush, I'll put it aside, and I'm going to use my medium small. And I'm going to start mixing with white. I'll scoop some white on the side. And I'm going to add some yellow to it. Quite a bit of it. And I'll add just a tiny smidge of blue to get nice light green. Make sure there's white in it. And with this color, I'm going to go right here. I'm going to add in a little bit of that. And again, you can trim with this, trim your black with this too. Only if you want to, you don't have to if you'd rather not. If there's anywhere else that you want to add it, go for it. For me personally, that's pretty much it. But again, it's totally up to you. And then I'm going to move to my light yellow. So light yellow, I'm going to start with a bigger brush, and then I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. So I'm going to start with white. I'm going to scoop a whole bunch of white on the side. Then I'm going to add just a little bit of yellow. I'm not going to add a whole bunch of yellow. Yeah, I still want it yellow, but I don't want it like a dark yellow. I want it super light yellow. Oh yeah, that's great. And I'm going to start adding it here. Trimming my block again. And you can use at the same time a couple different brushes. If let's say medium one is not the most comfortable, you can add a couple larger brush strokes in the medium brush and then switch right to small one or to medium small. And some of them I'm adding a bit more transparent, like for example this one's I'm dry brushing more, but as I go closer to the wing, I'm going to add it a bit more solid. And then I'm going to do the bottom part. And some flicks in there. Again, if you need to switch to a smaller brush, please do that. I'm quite comfortable still using the same brush, so I'm going to continue, but smaller brush will probably be easier. And of course some on the other side. Some right here. Now I'm actually going to switch to a smaller brush. So I feel like there's nothing much that I can do with this large brush. Well, not really large, medium. So let's grab a bit more light yellow, which I'll actually need to make more. And let's add it in a couple more spots. So, where should we add more? Let's add some right here. I'm going to add some right here too. A bit to this outline maybe. Here. Couple spots there. Here. And that's it for my light yellow. Now I'm going to move to blue. So the blue that I'm going to use the small brush for it, and it's not going to be the darkest blue, and the only reason why, even though I'm trying to get it exactly this color, is because I'm going to be adding over black. So if I add this exact color over black, I'm not going to see it. I may see it while it's still wet, but as it dries, it's just going to dry black. So for me to be able to see it later on, I have to add some white, at least a little bit. It doesn't have to be much white, but it has to be at least a little bit of white. So do you see the difference? Now you can actually see it versus where I put it before when you cannot see it at all. So maybe a little bit more white. And now I'm just going to flick it in any section that I want on my black. Just so it's not so solid black. You see, it's still pretty dark. And as it dries, it's actually going to get even darker because right, it's always a little bit, paint is always a little bit brighter while it's wet. But as it dries, it usually gets darker. So by the time this dries, it's going to be much darker. And you don't have to add it everywhere. Just choose a couple spots on the black and add a couple flicks in them. I usually go for fairly large dark areas of black. So for example, this is super small, so I'm not going to add it, but this area is a little bigger, so I will add it there. And you can actually get it a little bit on the inside parts too. It doesn't mean you can't get it on the inside parts. And then after that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add my white. And again, I'll wash off my brush, dab it off on a paper towel, and I'm going to grab white, which by the way, I need a bit more white. I'm kind of out of white here. So I'm going to start with my large brush because I'm going to be adding it on my background first. And only after I have it on my background, then I'm going to add a bit of white as a flicks on the outline or on the outline or on the inside. So I'm going to grab a medium small brush and I'm going to go into my background. I'm going to add just a little bit of white here and there. couple brush strokes. In the very bottom. So basically this part, so it looks like the butterfly is glowing right behind. There's light coming from behind and it's glowing. If it accidentally gets into blue that you just added and it smudges and you get like a line of blue, that's okay. That's actually a good thing. Don't be afraid of that. Or if that happens with any other color, good. So that's a bit of my outside. Now I'm going to go on the inside, and you can either use, you can continue medium small or switch to small. I'd probably say small is easier, but medium small works just as fine. And really it is a personal preference too, whether you want your brush strokes thicker or thinner. Alright, flicks on this. Couple flicks following the outline here. If you covered up those dots, you can add more, you can add them back, or if you haven't covered them up but you want to make them bigger, you can add some white there too. Alright, where else? Maybe a smidge here. Right here too. And anywhere else where you want it. Maybe here a smidge. And do you remember how I told you that in the end you can add a little bit of texture if you wanted to? So for example, if you had some sort of stencil, you can either apply it to like the middles of the wings, or you can do it on the background somewhere, or you can do some stencils if you have something small for the middles of the wings. You can do like a bubble wrap, like a one time print, one print of bubble wrap right here or right here. So you're free to add anything you want because it's so abstract and you can't ruin this painting with extra texture. It loves texture. And that's pretty much it, guys. After that, we're done. And what you could do after we finish, because there are no more steps here, you can see what did we lose? Did we lose some color? So for example, for me, I covered up a lot of my teal that was going on here. So I could technically make a teal back and go back and add a teal back. Or if you look at it and you feel like, I really love orange and there is no orange, go ahead, grab orange, make it and add a little bit everywhere. You love, let's say, light green and we only have it here. No problem, add it here, add it there, add it here. Any color, as long as it's a compatible color or you personally love it, you can introduce at this point because we're done. This is just like tweaking from here on. Or if you accidentally lost your outline, maybe you just covered it up while adding colors. Now is a great time to just grab more black and add it on. So now, guys, completely up to you, wherever your imagination takes you. And the last thing that you have to do is sign it. So pick a good spot and put your name or your initials or your signature. Whatever you prefer. I'm going to sign mine right here. And remember those edges. If you haven't done your edges, you can do the same thing that I did, just do them in black. So it looks almost like you framed your painting, which is the look that I like. Or you can choose one compatible color. So something you have a lot of, for example, this red color, this purplish color, or light blue. Any color that you have on a background, I would say. And color your edges with that color. And that's pretty much it, guys. If you would like to share your results, we have a Facebook group where we would love to see your results. I will post the link to the Facebook group in the description of the video. So look in the description of the video right here, and there will be a link there where we would love to see your results. Please join that group. It's a free group. It's public. Just join it and post there how they turn out. If you enjoyed painting with me today and you want to say thank you by tipping me, you can also do that. Tips are always welcome and appreciated. That way it keeps us supported so we can make videos just like that for you every week. And guys, if you haven't liked and subscribed our channel yet, please do that too. We go live here quite often. And sometimes we release videos just like that. It's not always live. Sometimes we do video releases. Sometimes we go live. And good thing is that our videos stay here. So if, let's say, you couldn't do it on a day of release or you couldn't do it on a day that we were live, you can always come back and do it sometime later. Thank you all for joining me. And let's do this again sometime soon. Bye, guys.